Joining us in the studio, three really true American heroes. Our two guests today served as Green Berets, since retired. They were part of a group of less than 100 Special Forces personnel that were sent to Afghanistan immediately following the 9/11 terrorist attacks. And they were charged with this very simple mission. It's the 90-some of you that are going, dismantle the entire Taliban network and render the country of Afghanistan safe from terrorism from this point on. Pretty simple mission.
No big deal.
And expel Al-Qaeda.
And expel Al-Qaeda while you're at it. If you have time, also expel Al-Qaeda. Yeah.
You're welcome.
And so if you've seen... Their exploits, their team of 12, their exploits were documented in the Emmy Award-winning documentary Legion of Brothers, one of my favorite documentaries. The movie 12 Strong, starring Chris Hemsworth, Michael Pena, Michael Shannon, and Rob Riggle. And this team, the Horse Soldiers, as I referred to, are memorialized in a statue at Ground Zero at the World Trade Center. It's called America's Response Monument. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome retired Master Sergeant Scott Neal and Chief Warrant Officer 4, Bob Pennington.
Thank you very much.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
We have two of the Horse Soldiers here in our studio. This is the most.
Wild.
I've never been so honored to have two people step in here, I don't think. And I want to get started with, we covered real quickly, I just kind of glazed over the fact that you were a team of 12. It's part of was it 90-some total?
There was 90 Green Berets. There were other elements of the CIA and other special operators, too. So it's almost like the Doolittle raid after World War II, the little throat punch right afterwards, right?
And I guess the key objectives were to secure the cities of Kandahar and Mazar Shavir. How do I say that?
Nailed it.
Well, there was no real plan, so we made it up as we went.
Okay. That's what I wanted to get to right away. So they send this small element there, charge you with, pretty much, it would bring peace to the Middle East. That's what you're asked to do. And you basically had no higher command structure put in place there like you would typically see in a war theater, right?
Right.
So they were like, you guys know what you're doing. Just go do your thing. Did you have a sense when that happened, because it was represented as such in the movie, but that this was a true suicide mission? Like you were going to go and the odds of returning weren't great?
Dead.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks for the memories. Since you put it that way.
I just saw my life.
Yeah.
My eyes.
No, I think, just imagine being anybody and 9/11 happened, right? And everybody's saying, send me. You got the Delta Forces, the SEAL Team 6 of the world. You've got, all the ninjas and ninjets wanting to go in. And really what had happened was they started making this big battle plan. All the generals got around the table and they're already writing their books. And they wanted to have big airborne invasions and big land invasions. And then at the time, the President Bush said, hold on a second. And it was really a small officer, very low in rank, said, well, why don't we just send in small teams of Green Berets and the agency and let's go figure it out and see what the intel on the battlefield is. And so that's how it started.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was an intel mission? It wasn't like, hey, you're going to have to go to completely battle against an entire, basically, army of lunatics over there. It was an intel mission, kind of get boots on the ground?
Well, it was twofold.
Hoofs.
The intel portion and also go battle, because we knew we would fall into that.
Got
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, really Green Berets, what makes us different is we fight by, with, and through, right? We raise a guerrilla army. We inspire others to fight the battle for you. And our motto is to free the oppressed. And what we found out is there was these different tribes and these different factions that the Taliban were just slaughtering wholesale for the last 10 years using all that old Russian equipment. And so that had pushed a lot of the Mujahideen fighters, or almost like, Comanches and Apaches. They had went up in the mountains, and the only way to get around was either on horseback or Toyotas or, something.
Right.
So you had to find them and locate them and make them believe in the cause.
So,
Before a team goes in, they actually get a briefing from the command, and they actually give them paperwork, and they give them intel to work their operations order off of. So ours was like 3 pages. Here you go.
Really?
This is what we know.
You guys go-
shit.
You guys go in a room and go plan, and hey, good luck.
No shit.
Some guys somewhere in some country, right, are some bad guys and do something. So, you know, the movie was interesting. It had a big hero named Chris Hemsworth.
Sure.
You know, it had a love interest and all that, but the truth is really, you know, still untold. And there was just, you know, and Bob really can tell you, you know, how do you picture 2,500 horsemen riding over the mountains, attacking,
Right.
and 1,000 infantry? And this went on in multiple locations all across the country simultaneously. And it was unknown to the command. They really didn't have a grasp. And some of us had slightly different missions. You know, they all want to ask, who were you in the movie? But some of us were doing different things at different times to different people.
Of course. Okay.
And that was the mastery of the vision of, you know, the command at the time was just send small green berets alone and unafraid with a bag full of hand grenades and say, make it happen.
Yeah, and one of the things, if you guys saw 12 Strong, that was an accurate depiction was when they write us back and they say, hey, you know, you guys need to get off your butt. You need to get moving. What are you doing there? And we went, what the heck is he talking about? You know, are you crazy? We'd been in battle now for a good week, and we'd been slaying left and right.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we get this comes back at us. And so Chris Hemsworth, or Mark Nooch, the commander, you know, he gets fed up and he writes me. I'm at a different location. He goes, hey, Bob, I'm going to write this. And so he, of course, comes out and he writes him back and tells them, hey, you have no idea what we're going against right now. Basically, we're fighting a 19th century war on horseback.
Wow.
Using 21st century technology. But still, that was our maneuvering. But guess what? It did pay off because the horses could go places the vehicles could not. So
Sure.
we were able to take the high ground on a lot of places and actually bring down Skunyon on the enemy.
So all right, so you show up and you guys you linked up with this General Dotson that ran one particular
Yep.
faction or tribe, and did you know ahead of time that they were fighting from horseback, or did you learn that like on the spot? And how do you do it? Like you guys weren't experienced horsemen, right? Prior to this?
Well, one guy was. Mark,
Yeah,
Now-
one of the 12.
Now, me, my experience came from, have you ever been out in front of Walmart? You saw the little horse?
Oh yeah, 25
quarter,
cents.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's gone up to 50 cents now, so I quit
Inflation's
riding
a
it.
son of a
I
bitch.
know.
So it takes a very long time, I assume, to become a proficient horseback rider,
Especially
let
in the
alone to
mountains.
fight a war. Yeah, on
Yeah.
the side of a mountain on one.
Well, Mark had ridden in the rodeos. He had lassoed
rodeo
cows,
scholarship.
everything else. Yeah, he had And so we had another guy that actually lives in Arizona right now, and he actually was a pretty decent horseman. But that was it. The rest of the guys, we'd been on a horse once or twice in our lifetime, and then all of a sudden. And
You're going to battle.
to answer your question earlier, we did not know that we would have horses. We actually thought that once we would get in the country, they would have vehicles for us.
They did not.
And they did not.
And they did not.
No.
So we.
And they didn't even have enough horses for us.
Oh, great. So when you get there, you meet up with the CIA, I assume, initially to link up with Dotson, there's the go-between. So what happens when you meet with the CIA? What was their plan? What knowledge did they pass on to you once you arrived?
Well, normally the agency gets in 2 weeks prior to us, but because of the weather had been bad, they were only in there maybe 2 days before us.
Okay.
So they really hadn't.
With a bag full of money.
Yeah.
So they were paying
So-
for your assistance from the local.
They were.
Okay.
They were. And we also came in with a little bit of cash to help out the situation.
Typically, how much were you carrying around?
Facilitate.
We took in 7 digits.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why taxes are. I had no idea. That's what.
Hey, it's only papers, right?
It's worth it too if we can save some of your life. In the movie, there's that one guy who's from Afghanistan that you have to team up with. He's kind of an asshole to Hemsworth through the whole thing. It's kind of the deal. Is that kind of what it's like whenever you say the Green Beret motto is work with, through, and that type of thing?
That's
exactly.
correct. That's correct.
And these people, have been fighting each other too. So imagine you have to go into this West Virginia holler, right? And they're separated by valleys and mountains. They hate each other. They're either fighting each other, right, or they're fighting together. It is truly the Game of Thrones.
Hatfields and McCoys.
Yeah.
That's what it's like, Hatfields and McCoys.
Yeah.
And these factions, they get together, right, to play poker, and then they pull each other's hair out.
Yeah.
That's how it works. I mean,
Really?
they'll get together a little bit, and then all of a sudden they'll punch each other's.
So you had no idea which one was going to be on your side. You had no rolling into some places.
There were already bounties for capture of American soldiers. It really was. There was no idea. They just needed somebody in there to start sorting it out and give information and intelligence. I think the Air Force had done about a week's worth of bombing.
Yeah.
3 huts? You know what I mean?
Right.
There's just this Afghanistan. There's no infrastructure like a traditional battle. So you have to go in there and. Let me back up and tell you the training difference between the different special operations. So Special Operations Command, inside of that you have SEALs, and SEALs are good, younger, fit, dynamic entry.
Toughest.
Yeah, the toughest,
Best
the baddest,
looking.
the best hair products. And
There's a SEAL.
and they have a mission. They're a tool in the toolbox. And you have Young Rangers, which are from the Army. Then you have Delta Force for hostage rescue, and then you have SEAL Team 6. And then you got Green Berets, are more like mountain men. Right, they're kind of curious and unconventional. They don't listen well. They operate in small teams, probably in trouble most of the time, but they take others and they train them on basic infantry skills. We drop in pallets of weapons and bombs. Our special forces medics are like voodoo witch doctors, and they treat cattle and camels and dentistry and OBGYN for the village. So you live with them. Right? And you can't just jump in somewhere and the next day encourage somebody to fight. You have to actually have a bond and tell stories and be in the campfire and share and sacrifice.
But they are diplomats. That's what our greatest asset is, because what helped us win is we actually brought these different factions together. We had an area command meeting, and we had all the commanders come together and said, "Hey, look. The way we got to win is we got to fight together."
Well, and your timing was really good, too, because you had Massoud, the leader of the Northern Alliance, who got whacked 2 days before 9/11.
Yes.
So they were already fixing for a fight anyway. You get perfect timing to go.
He was very well respected. He was one that all the other leaders would listen to, right?
The Lion of Panjir.
And then when you bring these people all together, how difficult is the language barrier? Do you have interpreters, or are they speaking English? Are you guys speaking multiple languages?
You're actually speaking through interpreters, because they all have different languages. Some speak Farsi, some speak Arabic,
Pashto, Russian.
So
there was Russian in the movie, right?
Dustin spoke Russian. He spoke it pretty well. Some of us could speak Russian, and we could understand some of it. So that kind of helped us there. On the other side, we were a lot of us were Arabic speakers. So that really didn't come into play as much. There was maybe 1 or 2 Arabic speakers, but that's about it.
Wow.
So
in my head, that meeting of all the leaders is like a mafia meeting where all the families' heads
Mr.
come
Blue,
in.
Mr. White,
Yeah.
each one of them had an army.
And you have
behind
to
them,
deal with
very
hey,
loyal.
this guy might have fucked over this guy in the past, and you kind of somehow say, hey, let's put our swords
It's
away.
the same thing, but different cousins and brothers were in different armies, so they would actually give each other the courtesy before they fought to send over their relatives from the other side.
Really?
Right?
Yeah.
And so a war was very gentlemanly over there. You would discuss it, you would talk about it, you would agree to it, and that was it. And you would offer the enemy a chance to surrender the night before.
yeah,
Wow.
many times Dustin would call. He'd call to a village that we were about to just bomb the shit out of, and he would call them up and say, "Hey guys, the Americans are here with me. They got planes. They're rolling overhead right now, and we had like 2 or 3 planes loitering, just ready." And he'd go, "Hey, so what do you guys want to do?"
You hear those planes up there?
And you could actually see the back door open, and they'd start flying out.
Really?
Yeah, but the good Taliban, because there's bad Taliban and there's good Taliban.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. And the good Taliban would stay there, and then they would join forces with Dostum. So we continue to just build this army. And
Like a snowball rolling down.
Like a snowball rolling down.
Everybody
the
likes
hill.
a winner.
Yeah, and as we
Them right
You can't beat them, join them.
hey, wait a minute.
there. Right?
Doesn't Dostum have money too?
By the way, we have $1 million in our backpacks if that helps. So
That's incredible.
Your unit in particular, I read that the average age was 32 years old
that's
on your
correct.
team. Is that unusually mature for a Green Beret team?
No.
Okay, so
Very
that
much
was typical.
so. So Green Berets come from the regular Army. Say you're in for 5 years or so, and you try out in the Special Forces Assessment Selection course. Usually, you have about 300 and odd tryout. Out of that, 60 will make it through, but only 40 will get selected.
Wow.
And then you start a year to 2 years worth of training in your specialty, from learning foreign languages to Special Forces medic and engineer, commo sergeant, and then you go to your first team. And some of the people on that team stay till they retire. So when I joined the Green Berets in '93, the team I went on had raised the Mujahideen in Kuwait. And Bob was already there, had fought in the first Gulf War. So some of these people are already legends, and you're just a young Spitfire Green Beret, and they sit you down and say, "Shut up, just watch."
Yeah, I mean, we
Young
had
bull.
we had 5 guys on our team that saw combat already. Either it was in Desert Storm, or it was Somalia, or some other place. That was
Bosnia.
Bosnia.
What's the test to get in? Everybody knows the Navy SEALs, buds. What is the test?
Speedos, right? Hair care.
You
know
can
what
tell
I
it's
mean?
fun being the only SEAL in
I
this.
know.
By the way, Bill is said he's part of this
quiet.
group as well.
As you can- as
very
you-
accomplished Navy SEAL himself. in Indiana,
as you
boy.
can see, though, he doesn't wear hair care products anymore, though. So.
Yeah.
Strictly because of you guys have buried them so much. You don't deserve it, man.
So Special Forces selection is about 3 weeks. You start off with just individual tasks: run 5 miles, walk 12 miles, do a physical fitness test, and it's all about you, right? Your
This is just a
performance.
basic qualifier.
Oh
just to
yeah,
cut the herd.
are you physically capable enough? It really is just to start tiring you down, and then they put you into what they call Team Week. And they put you together with a group of people you never met in your life. There's no rank, there's no name, just a number. And the first test, and really Bob should be telling us because he ran it, right?
Okay.
Is they have a Jeep with only 3 wheels, right? And a piece of rope and 2 poles. And they bring somebody over, number 26, come here. Here's your mission. I want you to take that tank of your people, and I want you to meet us at this grid coordinate in 4 hours. What are your questions? Get going. And you have to lead, organize, compel people you never met, and figure out a plan and start moving. And there's people who just crack. They can't operate that way, right?
Now, unlike buds, because they will yell at you at buds, there is no yelling in selection at all. There is none. You're given a task to do it, and then the instructor will sit back and he will grade you, and he will not say a word. And
No
there is-
encouragement.
there-
So versus
no
like that.
encouragement at all.
So like, yeah, we'll just see. Because in the buds, it seems like they're trying to mentally break you down. Obviously,
Right.
you guys, since you're so much diplomacy involved in it, it's like, hey, we need like actual gentlemen to get in here. Like the
Well,
maturity of a man is a big deal.
It's because the missions are unscripted. You know what I mean? You need somebody that's quiet and competent and capable and can follow minimal guidance and just get the job done. Just shut up and get the damn job done.
I can't even imagine
respect
just
that.
the fact that
Hey, Connor. Me too. Connor, why don't you take a little bit from this section? Just shut up and get the job. That's incredible.
I just can't imagine the responsibility that comes with being charged with something like this. They're like, hey, we just had this attack in U.S. soil. The person or people responsible are over in there somewhere. We don't really know what's going on around it, but they're over there in there somewhere, and there's a problem. We need to have you guys go over there and figure out what's going on and put an end to it.
Yeah.
I mean, and you just
It's almost like being an expeditionary entrepreneur,
Yeah.
right? You just make it up as you go. Your team has been together for so many years. You know, sideways in the night, who's who, what they'll do, how they'll react. And, that's the thing about just being calm. You can't shoot your way out of the problem, right? You
Right.
have to think your way out of the problem.
Was that hard being like after 9/11 being so emotional to remain calm and just think it through
Okay.
analytically?
Yeah, yeah. It was easy. No, I mean, really, it was. It was because it was, my thought process was, hey, look, we got a job to do in front of us. Don't let emotions take you over. Just do the job. And the enemy, believe it or not, can feed off of your emotions as well. So if you're on the battlefield, and I told this to a couple of people, if you're on the battlefield and you're showing nothing, absolutely no compassion or no remorse, they're scared to death.
Yeah.
Because they're watching you going, holy cow, these guys, nothing is fluttering them right now.
They're not bothered by anything.
No.
And there's nothing like a massive B-52 strike.
Just like calm, cool. Yeah, you hear that up there? There's some shit coming. You guys don't know yet.
And there we go. And we're done.
So he talked about the diplomat, the medical services, the project management or project engineer aspect of being a Green Beret. Let's talk a minute about the warrior aspect of being a Green Beret. When you put boots to the ground over there and you started to bring all the elements together to accomplish what needed to be done, and you had to actually get on horseback and go out there. First enemy contact, can you describe that for us? What happened and where it was?
Yes, that was, well, for me, it was later on. The first action took place the first day we were there. We called in planes. We called in the airstrike. But what I need to do is go back to, once we landed, we got off the bird. It was a helicopter, Chinook, and made our way to the base camp. And then, they put us up for the night.
Sure.
Well, the next morning, here comes Dostum. Dostum was not depicted as he was in the movie. The movie, he's an asshole.
Yes.
In real life, he was not. In
Okay.
real life, he saw us. He goes.
Thank
I mean,
God.
he met us, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "Are you guys ready to fight?" Absolutely. Yeah. He rolls out this big map. It's as big as two of these tables. He rolls it out, and you can tell he had done some planning. And he goes, "Well, here's what I'd like to talk about." And it was me, Mark, and the team sergeant. We're all looking at this map with the agency guys with us, and Dostum, and one of the agency guys was a very good interpreter. And he sat there, and we looked at the map, and we went, Mark and I looked at each other and went, man, this guy, he's on it.
So it was well done.
He's got a plan. Yeah, he's
Okay.
got a plan. We just need to tweak it a little as we start to roll.
Right.
Because we knew it would change. What we didn't know is how fast we would move.
Okay.
But we moved that day. That day, we sent 6 guys up because we didn't have enough horses, as I said earlier.
Right.
The other 6 stayed back and received some resupply drops that came in because we needed more radios and some more equipment that we couldn't bring in because you couldn't take the weight. You couldn't carry enough weight in the helicopter to get over the mountains.
Oh, because the altitude.
Yes.
Okay.
This is why they come up to me and they go, well, what did you go in with? I said, well, I didn't go in with body armor and a helmet like everybody else. And he went, what? I said, yeah. I said, because we couldn't get over the mountains with that weight.
Jesus.
Wow.
So we dropped all that off, which actually ended up building rapport because
You didn't walk in
Fight like
looking
them.
so, yeah.
we were fighting like them. We were just like them.
Couple questions there.
Go ahead.
How do you decide who stays back in the group? Is that like a card game? Like, hey, all right, losers got to stay back.
No, because the team is actually split already into an alpha and a bravo element. I command the bravo element. Mark commands the alpha element. So a 12-man team breaks into two 6-man teams. But we can break down even further. Each of those elements can then break down into 2 3-man. So you can have 4 3-man, which we were the only team to actually do that in combat. We actually broke down into 4 3-man teams to flood the battlefield with our fighters.
Is that just based on specialty?
Well,
the 3-man team?
In a sense, it's based on specialty, but
Necessity.
in necessity. But also, we were all cross-trained anyways.
Okay, so you could all do each other's job.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. But for me, yes, because I had to still command the 6 guys,
Right.
And Mark had to do the same on his side.
Okay.
So
So Dostum, am I saying his name right?
Dostum.
Dostum? He was basically just waiting for somebody to come help.
Absolutely.
He was ready.
Oh, yeah.
He was absolutely, it was almost like it's about time that you guys got here
Yes,
type
yes.
thing.
And the intel we got on him was that he had diabetes. He had a bad leg. He He walked with an extreme limp. He was old, decrepit. He couldn't move around. All false. All false. This guy comes riding in the morning that we got in there. We got in like, I think we landed like 02:30 in the morning. He comes in around 07:30 or 0800, and he comes riding in, jumps off his horse, greets us with a handshake. Hey, let's roll. Okay. He must be drinking Horse Soldier bourbon.
So were the two of you individually separated because of this bifurcation that took place with the two 6-man
There's where the
teams?
split is. I
Okay.
had a little different mission.
Okay,
that
what was
nobody
your-
really seen in the mission, in the movie or anything. I was what they were called the Commanders in Extremis Forces. We were basically the ninjas in the night. And as Bob's team would start pushing Al-Qaeda leaders and generals off the battlefield, we would visit them at night and give them special kisses and hugs.
Oh, yeah?
And what it was the Taliban started thinking their leaders were abandoning them and they were cowards. So as part of that total battle that you really don't understand and the enemy didn't understand, but there are creatures that go bump in the night. And so none of us knew what the other teams were doing in case we were captured. Right, and interrogated.
Smart.
So,
Obviously.
we were occupying behind the lines. We were creeping and crawling. Bob's team was, once again, efficiently just battlefield tactics, using cavalry to position and maneuver against the Taliban. In the middle of the night, when they go back and plan and coordinate, we would hit them very quickly, almost like a midnight raid, and then just keep
But in
going.
a sense, his teams were used as a diversionary tactic, because as the Taliban were smart enough to push communications all over, just like the Northern Alliance was. So they're telling them, hey, we're getting hit down here, we're getting hit down here, we're getting hit down here. So they were hitting them down south while we were doing our operations up north.
So they would prepare for more down south.
So that's
and
what
the
people.
big hit was up
It's a lot of
north.
things
Okay.
people don't know about that.
So you're a diversionary, kind of a terrorist of your own.
Terrorize the terrorists, right? Let's get all Sun Tzu with it.
Hey,
right?
fire with fire, bro.
Yeah.
Was
And-
there any firefights at night, or were those mostly recon missions for you
Oh,
guys?
there was lots of firefights at nights. There was lots of joyous victories. There were some hand-to-hand battles, right? When you get up very close with each other, when especially, we're all kitted out with night vision goggles and lasers, and you've got people that just don't expect that to be the front lines. And so they were safe and secure, and then all of a sudden in comes, some ninjas in the middle of the night.
You're the boogeyman.
How many? How many? You would roll into you would roll into like an entire village?
Anywhere from so different compounds. So we're very precise, like a scalpel. So anywhere from 20 guys against 20 Taliban leaders, whatever the mission called for, all the way up to 60. And there for a while, we started adding the Canadians and all the other countries that started coming in. So special operations or special missions, and in the special missions, you have unconventional warfare, which is what Bob's teams did. You'd have special reconnaissance, which is small teams hiding on a cliff, looking for miles, and then you have direct action, right? And that direct action, you can go from raiding a bridge or taking over a dam or something or you can go right in to find that one person, kill and capture.
Wow.
And so
Were
it
you
was
guys ever gathering intel on the whereabouts of Bin Laden? And if
All
so,
the time.
Every day. And if so, how
Every time,
close? How close did you feel you were to his whereabouts at any time?
Well,
Saddam was still.
we actually thought he was up in the Bulk Valley because we were told. And as we moved up through the Dar Yusuf and into
Layman's terms, what does that mean?
Dar Yusuf is a valley of the caves.
That's on the northern side or the southern?
It's on the northern side.
Where you were? Up
Yeah,
where you
that's where we were.
Okay.
Yeah, we kind of made our way up that into Mazar
All right.
Sharif.
Okay.
And off to the west was the Bulk area, and we had actually information that we thought that Bin Laden was there.
Yeah, it's Where's Waldo.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
so you had to.
You
a
get
lot
it
of
all the
people-
time.
Yeah. So you have to decipher all of that, and that's where the intel services come in, and it's just the massive amount. Imagine just giving each one of you a piece of a jigsaw puzzle, and you have to describe it to each other.
No thanks.
Right, and try to get the picture. So you just had to break a lot of eggs and put things together, and then finally you had Tora Bora, which was the cave complexes right before Pakistan, and what went on there. And literally, you think about it, in 90 days, 90 Green Berets, other special operators had just overtaken the country like that. High five, we're done. Take your country back. See you later.
Was this by far like the first time that American Special Forces element had fought in this manner?
No.
Okay, so this was no this
recent
wasn't
history
like,
though, obviously.
And no, I mean, talk about recent history. So, recent history, 40 years, you started with the Iranian hostage rescue and that attempts to go into another country. You go into fighting the FARC in Colombia, in El Salvador and Nicaragua, in the jungles of Panama. Panama itself, was really fought by Green Berets in the back, areas of there. Then you get into Haiti. Then you get into Somalia. It was actually Green Berets sitting on the beach welcoming the Marines and SEALs who, Hollywooded it in that day.
So what people don't know is So what people didn't know was that you guys were selected because you had been doing this all along. It just wasn't part of something that had gathered so much
right
public
now,
attention.
in over 50 countries at any one time, there's a team of SEALs or Green Berets, taking care of things, either escalating, de-escalating, training other nations, doing some type of a mission. Every day it goes on. And some of the things will never be known, ever. And some things, finally spilled where you just can't contain it anymore. And then, even though we're not there anymore, guess who's left behind? So small teams, keep the relationship. Just like Iraq, you see ISIS now. You see the Philippines, right? And what's going on in Indonesia. You got Sri Lanka, what just happened. Yeah. So I guarantee you there is some small team, just like this room right here, of people asked to sort it out.
And that's what makes us different is when we go into these countries, we build personalities. We've got a cultural understanding. We're in there so long that these people, they hate for us to even go. So we stay for an extended amount of time just to understand.
Well, tell them about Uzbekistan before even 9/11.
Oh yeah, and that's when we went into Uzbekistan. That was a good trip. That was in 2000. Yeah, I mean it was good on many accounts. But
okay, how so?
What were you there for?
All right.
What were you there for? What happened? How do we?
Hey,
That's Russian, right? They're speaking Russian over there.
But 2000 we went into Uzbekistan and we actually trained a company of airborne Spetsnaz, the Russian special forces. So we trained them, and during our time that we trained them, they were actually the country itself had a Islamic movement of Uzbekistan, the IMU, which was Al Qaeda, actually in their back door, and they were setting up base camps. So the unit we trained actually went into combat at the time we were there. So we were begging our guys, "Hey, can you please let us go in here and help fight them?"
Yeah.
And at that time, we didn't really get into those kinds of scrapes. So they were like, "No." And it was the defense attaché that wouldn't let us go there because he thought it would, trigger off some international incident.
Which happened anyway. Yeah.
Basically happened anyway.
Right.
But our guys at SOC sent down in Florida, they were all, go. You guys go, go do that voodoo that you do so well.
The amount of freedom it sounds like that is bestowed upon the Green Berets is something I assume it's a lot of pressure. I mean, because international tensions could flare up at any given point. Uzbekistan, all those places. Is that something that you have to prepare for? Obviously, like, hey, if we step on any toes here, there could be a big fucking problem.
Absolutely.
So like we talked about, a sergeant, a special forces sergeant, either goes through communication, AM, FM, Morse code, high frequency, antenna theory, all of those skills. The special forces commander, the captain, goes to the CIA, goes to Department of State. He goes through all the different agencies to build relationships, because that's where you need to function when you're overseas. And you have USAID that has resources that could help villages with wells. You have Department of Agriculture, which can bring in, various resources. So the team leader is more of, the coordinator and diplomat. The team sergeant's just the big monster, the silverback gorilla. He's been there the longest. So all of these skills are in concert at all times, and you never know exactly how the mission turns. So sometimes you're more prominent when it is just a medical mission. We did them in the 90s in Kenya, taking doctors and vets because the government wouldn't service the villagers in the entire country. So you just accept the mission. This is your mission, and you plan for it over 3 days, and you just execute it until you come home.
Did you hate that the movie came out? Because you said like a lot of things happen are never going to be heard about. Just like the guy that killed Bin Laden. Obviously, there's Zero Dark 30 was a movie that came out. It always seems like the actual warriors aren't the ones that end up leaking the information. It's other people, and then on the back end, you kind of have to clean it all up. Is that kind of the situation that the horse soldiers are in as well?
Well, it depicted the teams.
So diplomatic.
Yeah. It actually.
Give me a nice politically correct answer here. I mean, do whatever you got to do.
Well, it actually depicted the teams the right way. It actually made SF look good, and it showed how the teams actually broke down, or the team itself broke down into small elements. It did show that.
Okay.
And it did show how we worked with the Northern Alliance. It did show that, but it was far off on a lot of things.
Were you scared to watch a movie?
No.
Because of fear of that? Like, I don't want to watch how they depicted this whole thing, like that type of situation?
No, that didn't bother me at all. It was the idea. It was, I guess, yeah. In a sense, I just wanted it to be good and correct. But as a whole, I wanted to make SF look good, Special Forces look good,
Yeah.
And at
make
least they
Green Berets
accomplished that.
look good.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
we don't
that's
quite
what
have
I
the
want.
portfolio
What-
of movies.
what
that
did
they
they
consult?
What did they have
Well,
wrong? What did they do wrong?
Yeah,
It's awesome. Or
What
whatever.
did they depict incorrectly?
or how much in your estimation was accurate and how much was just complete Hollywood bullshit?
Well, one is, like I told you about Dostum. They made Dostum look like an ass. He wasn't. Dostum was ready to fight. We had built a large army, bigger than depicted on the screen. I mean, actually, I think we were all said and done. We had 35 to 4,000.
Oh wow!
Fighters.
Yeah, fighters.
Just
I
from
mean,
the
it's very
snowball.
impressive.
Yeah.
And in some of the things we did were even more dangerous than it showed, like picking up equipment in minefields, because we had to have it to move on to the next mission. They never showed that. They talked about minefields, but they really didn't cover it.
I assume they're everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was that the
Everywhere.
worst terrain that you guys served in?
Yeah, that was bad.
Oh yeah.
That was
Mother
pretty
Nature.
It was cold as
you know
well,
what I
right?
mean?
It was
Yeah.
cold.
So
It was winter in
It rained. It was cold. It snowed. We had everything fall on us the entire time. I mean, it was brutal.
Because you arrived in October,
Yeah.
We arrived in October. Yeah.
and you left in December, January.
We left K2 in January to go back to the States. Yeah.
Okay, so
I was still
coldest
there
part of the
until
year.
about June.
Okay.
Oh, you were there. Really?
So then you had the 82nd Joe Petraeus come in. No, the 101st, and he was like, "Turn the war back on."
Yeah.
And so they wanted another battle. Yeah. Hey. Oh.
But we never.
Excuse me.
ready
Yeah, we're
to
going to
go
turn that
again.
motherfucker back on.
It was. He was on the airfield going, "Are these my men right here?" No, sir. We're good. We'll turn. Yeah, and we'd had Anaconda.
You guys
this
saw
big
Stripes,
battle.
right?
Yeah.
You guys saw Stripes?
Yeah, a long
No,
time
sir.
ago.
Here's your men coming now.
Were you guys ever teaming up with like Bill's group, like the SEALs or the other?
All the time.
Okay.
So, once it got a little out of the unconventional by, with, and through, and it got more deliberate, you just kept punching. Then it was a multinational force. So that's when the Germans wanted to help, and the British and the Australians, the Canadians, it turned in from unconventional to a direct action campaign.
Okay.
It was supported by other unconventional teams that had raised another army. And, part of this whole strategy, which has always been part of our doctrine, this is how you fight your battle, had just come about. But there was an execution of a plan that wasn't a plan. So by the time they really disbanded Al-Qaeda, they had no more influence and control. Check. Mission
Right.
complete. Taliban is no longer, in central government power and executing coordinated efforts. Check. Where in the hell's bin Laden? Okay, that's when we had to keep counterpunching and finding and counterpunching. But at the time, what we were told and asked all of our teams to do was very simple, was defeat the Taliban, right, and expel Al Qaeda out of Afghanistan. War's over. Handshake.
And
high five.
you did that in 3 months.
3 months.
You accomplished that in three
Thank you.
fucking months. Yes, Jesus Christ.
Thank you. You're welcome.
So when
But we did continue to collect
Yes, because-
intelligence. We
sure.
had to, yeah, and we had to. The intelligence piece was collecting on the factions to make sure that when we did leave, we handed it off to someone else who was coming in and
Sure.
hey, this guy plays well with others. Well, this guy doesn't. you
yeah,
know.
because
I mean, really.
So
you
the
had to do
Pentagon
that.
had they
Yes.
could rely on the architecture you guys had created there.
Yeah.
Basically, you
Basically,
knew the
yeah.
entire layout. This is who works with who. This is how you get this
Now,
done.
the
and
other
then
thing-
what? So when didn't mean to interrupt, but when
ahead.
you leave after that point, when most of the people leave, you stayed behind, Scott. What happens from December to June? Is it just basically wreak havoc, seek and destroy? We got to find Bin Laden. We're going to hit this.
Yeah,
until-
so we started hitting targets that intelligence would drive us to. So you had commanders that had fled to compounds and trying to reorganize different factions, rally support. You had other high intelligence. We had Osama bin Laden's doctor identified. They needed to get together and meet. Right? Because if it was electronic, we knew exactly where they were. So they had to meet in person. So anytime you saw more than 3 cars, you knew something was going on. It was a party, right? So you had to have constant pressure. In military, it is about pressure. Pressure keeps people disorganized. And then you can handle and mop up things. Then you can negotiate for peace. And, once again, the Afghans have a way of war. And you're on my side, or you're on your side. You're coming to my side, or you're going to your side. They accept it. And once they shake your hand and commit to it, they're on your side until momentum changes, then you're on their side. Right? So that's what we're facing now, right? Momentum has shifted, and Taliban has taken back over, and now more people are loyal to them than the central government.
Can I visit?
Scotty wanted to play in the spring basketball league.
Oh, I respect that. Can I visit back to you being a ninja in the night?
Yes. Sure.
Okay. So you're just rolling into these compounds with a group of how many?
15, 20, 60.
Are you hiding out all day until it is night for you to get in, or how is it? Are you leaving, coming, going?
We have multiple ways to infill, whether it's airborne, air assault, vehicles, walking. You analyze the mission right in front of you. There's this compound. There's 50 houses around it. They can hear the helicopters coming because of the height of the mountains around it. We have everything in our arsenal. You truly plan your own mission, and then you tell the leadership what assets you need, the type of guns you need, right? The distances you'll be engaging, the type of aircraft that'll support you in case things go wrong. You just bomb the piss out of it and scoop it up later, right? So all of these things become, part of your planning mission. And I can show you in a dirt hut us making mock villages out of cartons,
like driving
food.
X's and O's and like backyard football
same
type
thing, right? Yeah. And so we plan our mission ourselves. We would ask for the assets, whether it was helicopters or gun jeeps or something. We had it all there for us, and just like here, we'd kit up and we'd just fly out there and knock it out that night.
So you would drop off. Sometimes I assume you're just creeping in by foot.
Creeping in by foot, whatever you want to do.
Ground.
Yeah.
So let me get real personal with you. You can tell me you don't want to go that far if you don't want to. You see in movies, you guys creeping in middle of the night. There's sentries or whatever, like a fire watch walking around or whatever. Sneak up with the wire, the garrote, silent kill, drop, boom, you move past.
Yeah.
Is that real shit?
Oh,
real
yeah.
life shit?
Just like that.
Like cover his mouth so he doesn't make a noise.
You pick them up, their feet are still running because they don't see at night because they usually go in when the lunar, his cycle is down, so you can't see at night. You use suppressed weapons, you use silenced weapons, you use hatchets, whatever it takes.
Wait a fucking minute. So you're hiding behind like
tomahawks.
You're hiding behind like a wall.
Fucking Gary Paul.
Like yeah, you're hiding behind a wall, and a guy walks by just like in a movie, and you fucking just snag that guy, grab him by his mouth so he can't talk, and just fucking boom over.
You gotta grab his mouth if you do it quickly. Right? There you go.
Before he can even yell, it's just like boom, he's dead. Throw him down, and now you got to move on to the. You gotta
Or
sneak
you
in.
have snipers in Overwatch that use suppressed weapons that take them out. They'll be a few inches from you, and that's how you train. You
badass motherfucker right there. I mean,
that's
Hollywood got some shit right, right? I mean, that's.
There's been a battle. I had a friend, Tony, who's probably he was the army powerlifter of all of Europe. His fingers were the size of this water bottle right here, right? He ended up doing hand-to-hand in one room with 4 guys and killing them all.
Wow.
With a broken clavicle.
wow.
Right? And so you just got to do it. And, sometimes you'll run into a room and guys will surrender right there. Sometimes, they'll start shooting and you're just, going.
We had a guy who couldn't do a podcast because he broke his clavicle falling off a fucking scooter.
There you go.
Yeah. And you got a guy, he killed four people.
Sounds like an exaggeration.
With his bare hand.
Try to go home.
So with that, all right, so with all that in mind, obviously, if people listening to the show knew nothing about Special Forces or Green Berets or Navy SEALs up to this point, everybody has a sense right now. It's a very unique member of the military, very intelligent people, very creative people, unique people, right? But you have this, you're creeping in the middle of the night, you're doing what you got to do to other human beings in order to get the job done. You leave that. So, boom. You got to fly home, Bob. Hey, family, here I am after going through that for several months or a year. How do you turn that off in your brain? How do you become Bob the father or Scott the husband? Overnight.
And it depends on what trip you go on to, because when we left, believe it or not, and you guys probably don't know this, when we left,
I guarantee we don't know it.
Don't know it.
When we left Uzbekistan, when we came out of Afghanistan, then left Uzbekistan, we'd already known we were going to Iraq.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
So when I went home, it was, and I tell my wife, I would tell her, hey, I don't want to see anybody at the house. I mean, I don't care if it's brothers, sisters, family, nobody, except for my kids and my wife. And for 2 weeks, it has to be that way. I don't want to see anybody else. But, when I came home on this one, I already knew I was going somewhere. But I didn't go home and tell her, hey, I'm getting ready to do this.
Right.
So I came home, hey, we're going to go in here, we're going to clean our stuff up for like a week or so. And then, you want to take some leave? Okay, we'll take some leave. Then I got to come back and start training again. Are you going somewhere else? Well, no, but we still got to be sharp.
Yeah.
So it's simple. Just
you have to
simple
balance
like that.
right? That's a real balance that you have to do is balance the family, because you're not going to have a lot of time back at home, and you already know another mission's coming, which you're probably already trying to prepare for.
And some people can do it, and some people can't. And that's even in our line of work, we have people that actually it was enough failed them. It was too much for them. They had to say, hey, I got to go. I'm done.
Sure.
I did my part, and I'm out.
So
I imagine it's very hard to turn that off.
I did
when
this.
You're home.
I did it. I was in for 30 plus years. I did over 26 as a Green Beret.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's a long
there
time.
needs to be more movies about your motherfucking ass. Jesus.
I keep telling Scotty that.
I can write you one, man.
But you think about it, the same group went home, and then there was the invasion of Iraq. So you think about the Kurds up north, the WMD, the capitulation of Iraqi generals and all this other stuff. It was the same group of people that went in there. Hey, war's easy, right? 90 days, we thought we were done. And then they sent us into Africa because you had foreign fighters coming through, and then it just kept going and going and going until you either were killed or you retired. So,
Well, that Middle East is going to be in war forever. I mean,
it has been and it will be.
Yeah, literally I'm not a big religious guy, but in the Bible it says this will just be an unrest for eternal time. And it's not that the Bible has been accurate on everything, but I feel like that really, since the beginning of time, the Middle East has been in the middle of war, and it will never stop. It'll really never
you ever
stop.
seen that satellite photo where it's all lit around the world except for the dark places? Yes. That's where it is, and it's true, metaphorically and religiously and in truth. Right. That is the darkness of the world, and that's where we operate.
And it's easy for the ignorant. That's not a derogatory term. It's just people that don't know and want to live in the dark and be unaware of the road. And it's easy for them to say, "Why are we sticking our nose in other people's business? Why you guys basically are responsible for keeping planes from flying into buildings and all these things happening." So. Yeah, you are the Night's Watch.
Hey, that's the movie, by the way. Dump that. The movie's Night's Watch, and then where he said we operate in the dark. I mean, that's a real
from Game of Thrones.
It's an incredible thing to wrap your head around. It's hard for me to wrap my head around.
And just think, we're old dudes now. There's a young generation doing and ready for the next 9/11, ready for the next thing.
Okay.
What does George Orwell say? People sleep peaceably in their beds at night because rough men stand ready on their behalf.
To do violence on their behalf.
Hell
yeah, love that.
Hell yeah.
Hey, that's a Navy SEAL coming in there at the end there.
Love that.
Are you worried about the societal change that we've had, kind of making people softer? in
Yes.
like the next generation
Absolutely.
of
Absolutely.
Green
Us
Berets
too.
and Special Forces. We're worried as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Because if there was a war that was to happen right now and a draft was called, Evan Fox, that guy back there, this guy right here, this generation would be the one that would get drafted. America would be pretty fucked. I mean, if we look at it that way.
I mean,
It's a great point.
well, and are any of you considered millennials? I don't think so.
the
right?
back.
in the back. No, these two. That's who we
Yeah.
try. Yeah, those two right there.
But that is the changing way of America now, and that is it's taking us down a dark road.
Soft.
To be
a little
honest.
softer. It's
So,
very
are
soft.
is the military seeing it? Are there
Yes.
people
Yes,
like
yeah.
Yes.
way
They're
up the chain going,
the,
guys?
the
what's
average
happening?
recruit, even though they're highly intellectual and intelligent, right? And the battlefield has recently relied on drones and video games and the non-personal side of war, but there's a dirty side of human.
Yeah,
conflict.
unfortunately, we need a certain number of
Yeah.
people that can effectively sneak up behind somebody and
And
stick
read
a
a
knife
map.
in the base of their skull
Right.
before they can make a noise. I mean, that has to happen.
Read a map, know a compass. You know what I mean? Play outdoors, and we're kind of lost that skills that made American very frontier and pioneering, right? And you don't get 3 meals a day, and you don't have a video game that solves it, and you can't hit reset.
Right.
I mean, it's so bad. This afternoon, I saw in the hotel room, I saw the news. It was Fox News, and the Human Health Organization came out and said, "Okay, any kid, we're going to put out a new rule, a new law. Any kid under 1 year old cannot play with some type of media, whether it's a phone or a game or anything, because they're picking it up."
Wow.
Under a year and playing with it and playing little games. And
Yeah.
it's crazy.
They're
I think
addicted.
technology is something that could be the best and could be the worst. And in the world that you guys speak of and have, I don't want to say thrived in, but obviously you two are some of the finest gentlemen I've ever met in my entire fucking life.
You don't know him.
True, very true. But it does seem
Where's
like
the whiskey?
that's what I was about to say.
We talked about that yet.
Well,
we
we'll
will.
lead in at the beginning of it, make sure. But it seems like the type of guys that you are, I don't want to say are disappearing, but it seems like it's going to be a tough group to find. I think the Green Berets and the Army and even the Navy with the SEALs and everybody you're talking about, it's going to be tough to find those gentlemen that can pull that off. I don't think they make many men like you on Earth in the history of time, but in the future, it looks like I don't know how many there's going to be of you guys.
Well, even in
appreciate it.
selection, we're a little too stupid to quit, right? We didn't think our way out of being in pain. And just walk in another 2 I was like, sucks. I'm not going to quit. And, what you have is people who've never faced adversity and had hard times, had a hard life. They don't know, how to mentally go through that. So a lot of people quit easily because you can. In a game, you can hit reset, turn the button. You know what I mean? But there are hard people out there. Very, very, very morally and emotionally hard people ready to do naughty things, to this country.
We talk about it all the time in athletics for young people. Like, it's hard. You learn a lot in sports.
Team sports,
yeah,
man.
because and it's getting harder for coaches to balance that pushing you to the point
Yeah.
that you go to complete exhaustion, but you're not able to quit, versus almost getting in trouble because you made somebody throw up during.
Yeah, I've seen the human body
laps.
survive tremendous, amputations and injuries and still fight on. The Afghans, they don't know the difference.
Right.
You know what I mean? They'll go till they drop
grow up
dead,
one way.
dead, not tired.
I had a security guy that worked for me. He was an Afghan, of course. And I threw him in the back of the truck so he could just watch out for me. This guy had eaten grass and drank water for a week.
Wow.
So I gave him a couple of the meals that I had.
Sure.
Of course, he was starved. I said, "Hey, don't eat that too fast. You will explode."
This horse soldier signature bourbon whiskey.
Whoop, whoop.
A small batch brewed in Columbus, Ohio,
Bottle
because
is gorgeous.
Kentucky's too fucking expensive.
Yeah.
Made
This-
by American Freedom Distillery.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful bottle and beautiful design. How'd you decide to get into this? Whiskey for my men, beer for my horses. Is
That's
that,
right.
Yeah.
Well, we make whiskey, not war now, right? So, all the taglines. No, actually, the only job for a while for us was to kind of be a government contractor and go back overseas. And so now you have guys that just fought their whole life and really, even though they're entrepreneurial and they're probably the best business-minded people, nearly, criminal in their mindset,
What?
right?
Hey, wait.
What?
Don't say that.
Criminal or mindset?
Well,
or our only job.
Are you calling government contractors criminal?
Well, I was gonna. As soon as you mentioned, I was like, "Well, we can dive right into a Blackwater conversation."
There we go.
We can get into I mean, they just smirked my injury. I'm like, "Holy shit! I've never talked to anybody about this before. I got a lot of questions."
Well, what we were missing is this understanding of business and the culture of business, and it's easy for us to pick up a gun again. So think of Magnificent Seven, right? You know, the only good business is the business you know, and the business is war. So there's a lot of friends that were making a lot of money, right? And they were doing things that were necessary at the time. But, you know, I wanted to go in a different direction. And we went to Yellowstone, we fly fish, we did everything a tourist would do because we really never really take vacations, always at war. And we did a horseback ride through the middle of Yellowstone, and then we were coming back out of it, and we saw a little sign that said free tours and tastings. Free tours.
There we go.
Tastings.
Yeah.
So it was a small craft distillery, but it was a husband and wife. They worked it together. They were tired and exhausted, but they made some great vodkas, and they just told you everything. And you catch on to that. We're people, you know.
Sure.
That's our culture and background. So we Googled every craft distillery from Driggs, Idaho, back to Tampa, Florida. It took us a while to get home. Right? It was John's mom that said, "You drunks need a hobby." So then we went to Scotland. We had a friend that was a Royal Marine and started a Scotch distillery. So imagine learning Kung Fu now.
Yeah.
Right? I know Crane. So we learned how to make Scotch. We went into Ireland to the world's oldest distillery, Kelbegan, and learned how to make Irish whiskey. We actually learned how to sail a couple years ago, sail to Cuba, and learn how to make rums.
Let's go.
Yeah, right. And so, like this year, we're jumping into Normandy. It's the 75th anniversary of D-Day. Nice. So we all had to get recertified and jump. Our kids learned how to jump too. Wow, so we had the very first aircraft going over and jumping into the 75th anniversary. Wow. So we always have adventures. It's the only thing you know that we were missing, and we're little Peter Pans. Right?
Yeah.
Praying that we wouldn't break every bone in our body when we hit the ground.
Right. So a couple of things I want people to know is that American Freedom Distillery, all the founders are from your team or other special operations groups?
We're all in the community together.
All special forces.
From the agencies, Navy SEALs, all of us, you know, it's a very small community. And after all the ribbing is done and whatnot, you know, our families got to know each other, our kids got to know each other. We wanted a business where it's just like this here. Everybody's sitting around yapping, but nobody can you know, put out a crappy product.
Sure. And on your featured product here, the Horse Soldier Bourbon, this is the statue on the front that honors you guys at Ground Zero, right?
That's right. That's great.
And the bottle, I read that the mold that forms the shape of this bottle is actually made from steel from the Twin Towers.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Wow. Yep. That's incredible.
So we have all forged relationships there, and because the statue does overlook the National 9/11 Museum and waterfalls, we were actually looking for a discount on how to get our bottle molds made. We're Green Berets too, you know. And we horse traded, and you know, we had an opportunity, and we took it, and we don't really over advertise, and it wasn't a gimmick. You know, none of us are gimmicky. We're not a marketing Madison Avenue company.
Sure.
But everything means something. And you see on the label it says Forged in Fire, just like we were.
Wow.
Where do you buy it at?
Right now we're in Indiana, so we launched in Florida last year. So you got 21 First Amendment, right?
21st Amendment.
And
21st
you got
Amendment.
Payless
Hey,
Liquors.
into a
Payless
fucking
liquors?
microphone. I mean, come on. I mean, if we're gonna give this vital information,
There you
let's
go.
at least
We
Get 'em,
just,
Brian.
we just rolled out a month ago, and that's why I'm here. I didn't serve with these guys. I carry their bags now, which is works out fine for me. But yeah, we just launched a month ago. It's doing great in Indianapolis.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. People love it. People get behind these guys in the story. It is available at 21st Amendment in all their stores. Payless Liquors and Big Red actually just rolled it out.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, you know, in a market like this, there's a lot of independents. They've all carried it too. So really, any liquor store, and if you walk into a liquor store and they don't have it, ask for it, and then maybe they'll buy more.
This is incredible. And the story of you guys, I mean, let me tell you something,
after
man.
listening to this story.
Like, I am floored always whenever, you know, we get an opportunity through Pat to meet people like you, but except that you guys are Well, you've exceeded my expectations. I can tell you that. I mean, the story is incredible. I always loved the movie. I had previously seen the documentary, so I was already fans of you guys individually as real people. And this is a big deal for me. It's a big deal for America, and I want people to know also that you guys have not lost touch with the people that continue the mission that you retired from. You're helping vets. You're helping them cope. You even help develop some programs to help Green Beret and Special Forces members adjust back to the real world after leaving combat, right?
Yeah. So we do a lot of charitable stuff. I work with President Bush and his Team 43. We're on several, congressional committees just, telling the case. But our biggest thing is, veterans are bombarded about how bad we are. Mm-hmm. Right? And everybody feels sorry and miserable. And we kind of turn this generation into the misery patrol. And we're trying to show everybody this is America. Live the American dream you've been defending. Start a business. Be bold. Be brave. Right? Get with your buddies and just conquer the world on the business community. Don't take handouts over here. Okay? Get off your butt and let's get back in the economy.
Although Ocasio-Cortez says the VA, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not broke. So we're in good shape right now.
Let's not get started on that.
By the way, I looked over here and I see that you're actually wearing a Blackwater shirt. And whenever we go off air here, you're about to get pelted with questions. Just know that. I can't thank you guys enough for coming through here, though. Absolute gentleman, man. Absolute gentleman. I can't thank you enough for everything you've done, obviously, for the country, for the world. But if I don't drink much right now. I'm currently trying to get in shape. But you obviously...
I'll drink yours.
So you have... I'm going to drink this today because you guys are here. I feel like it's the least I do. I have to. But you guys have is the bourbon whiskey the only thing you guys are currently selling, or does the Freedom...
The bourbon's... first and foremost, it is the horse we rode in on. We're making a rum because we went to Cuba because we have a bunch of old bourbon barrels after we age and pour, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll make some other things just for, grins. Sure. But really, the bourbon is what's going to, make our family successful for the next couple of generations.
I hope you sell 7 billion of these. You guys deserve
So do I.
It. Yeah. You guys.
Because I'm getting a helicopter and I'm going to visit people.
Soldier whiskey. Pat, I wanted to mention, too.
We've done well in the San Francisco whiskey competition as well.
Our bourbons have won more medals than we have.
Yeah, we can. That's right.
Because nobody talks about the Green Berets, man. Nobody talks about it.
No, and I wanted to mention, as people are listening in and hearing the story, and you guys too, I welcome you to do it. Follow us on Facebook, and we've got some signings coming up tomorrow night, Saturday morning, and then Saturday night at Payless Liquors and at
it'll be tonight.
Amendment.
It's actually this is going to come out tomorrow.
The signings, you come in, there'll at least be 2 of these guys there. You get one of these bottles signed. It's amazing. I met these guys a year ago, and I love working with them. And having that bottle on my shelf, everybody asks about it, and I'm proud to tell the story.
And I'll tell you, I don't care how many bottles I sign, and I've signed several hundred in a night.
Attaboy.
Yeah. And I tell you what.
We'll always shake a hand.
There's somebody always in there, and there's several of them, that always want to bring up their dad who served in the military or their brother who served in the military. And they got killed in action or some story like that.
Right. And the other way to help...
It's actually great.
Help us as a business is just ask for it, right? I heard about it and just ask for it. The people have the power. So as we kind of learn distributor relations and you got bar vendors and you got all these other people, if they ain't heard about you, they don't care. If they don't think the customer wants it, they won't buy it. So it's power of the people. So the more people we see and tell the story and the message, they're the ones that have the power. They'll go into a bar and say, why don't you have Horse Soldier? I guarantee you the next day, ring, 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 we need a couple bottles here. And that's how you win.
Yeah, I'm going to start a movement at all the liquor stores I frequent. I can tell you that right now.
Todd frequents a lot of them, too.
Take a wild guess. We don't have the Commander Select bottle here. It sells for $600 a bottle. But if it's signed and it goes at auction, take a wild guess how much those have sold for at auction.
$10,000.
$16,000.
Wow. Let's go. And I'll say this. After listening to you guys talk, I would put, obviously the country put faith in you. I haven't tasted this yet, but I would assume if you two are involved in it, it's going to be fucking delicious. And I think anybody listening at home should just assume the same
It
thing.
doesn't suck.
It's amazing.
Pat, we're bringing a bottle back. I'll have a bottle here for you Monday for your tournament.
Yeah,
Great.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah,
Tournament is
thank
awesome.
you so much. That's
So
very nice of
We
you.
want to support that too.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So there's two. There's a wheated bourbon, which is soft and smooth, like a little victory. Then there's rye, which is spicy and peppery, which is charged. So we couldn't agree amongst ourselves who liked what. So we
Right.
just said we'll make them both, and there you go.
Wow. Well, thank you guys so much for coming in, man.
Thank
This
you.
has been an incredible experience. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you've done, and thanks for taking care of that little terrorism thing.
Ah,
I appreciate that. That was very nice of you.
Just a little tiny little terrorism thing.